I have a secret. It's not a bad secret. Maybe it's not a secret. Maybe you know this already. Being a rabbi is weird. Being a rabbi is weird. It's fun. I love it. But there are certain aspects of being a rabbi which I think make my brain work in certain ways that I am not sure everybody's brain works. I've been thinking a lot about Torah. Have you been thinking a lot about Torah? Some of you maybe. We've seen a lot of Torah the past couple of weeks. I'm not thinking about the Torah stories. I'm thinking about the physical Torah itself. From the beginning of the Jewish year until the end, we can watch with our eyes as we make our way through the Torah. We can see it. The Torah is not like a book where we just put in a bookmark and we can flip open to that page whenever we want or decide, you know what, I want to go back to page 20 even though I'm on page 372. I'll just flip back real quick. It's not real quick. We can say we've rolled the Torah a lot of times the past couple of weeks. It takes some muscle, and it's not fast. We did post a video, but that was sped up. We sped that up on purpose. We can watch as we start at the beginning, and as we get towards the middle, the scroll is sort of even on both sides, and then we get to the end, and we can see that we're about to start over. Well, every week, we read a little bit more. And every week, we move a couple inches further into the Torah, except for this week. This week, we don't go anywhere. In fact, we actually go back to the middle. Last week, we read the end. Last week, Moses gave his last words before the people cross into the Promised Land. And next week, after Simchat Torah, which we hope you'll join us for, 6:15 on Monday night here, dancing, Torah, consecration. It's going to be awesome. Then we'll start Bereshit. We'll start at the beginning. But this week, we don't move. This week, we even go backwards to read about when we were given the commandment to celebrate Sukkot. So the story's relevant, but if you're anything like me, it's a little weird. I've been watching and getting closer and closer, and we're on the precipice of starting over, and we stop. We wait. We are in limbo. We're in Torah limbo. We're also in some other kinds of limbo right now. We know what it means to be in limbo. Let's talk about how we spend our time in that limbo, because it is very tempting to spend that time, and it can be easy to spend that time in what I call anticipatory dread. Right? I always think about when I was 14-ish, my cousins and I went to Six Flags Great America in Wisconsin. There are Six Flags elsewhere, so I know you know what that is. And there was a ride called the Giant Drop. The Giant Drop is not a regular roller coaster. I love roller coasters, or I used to. I haven't been on in a long time. I probably wouldn't. I don't know what would happen now. But the Giant Drop, you strap in, and they bring you up, 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 up to the top, and then you drop. And you wait an undetermined amount of time. And when I was 14 or so, I'd never been on this ride, but I wanted to be cool in front of my younger cousins. And I said, we should go on that ride. And they were scared, but I'm cool. And I said, come on, it'll be fun. And they got on with me. And I think that was the first time they heard me swear. That was not fun. That I wouldn't do again. But that moment suspended at the top where you don't know when they're going to let you go, that is anticipatory dread. If you know what's coming, maybe it's not. If you have a favorite roller coaster and you know that feeling and you know what comes next, maybe it's anticipatory excitement. but I felt anticipatory dread. It is easy to sit and say, I don't know what comes next, and so I dread it. I don't know what the next day will hold, week will hold, year will hold, and so I worry. This is normal. But Sukkot teaches us something different. Sukkot is a holiday of limbo. Sukkot reminds us of the ancient days when our people wandered in the greatest limbo of all, 40 years in the wilderness. They wandered for 40 years. They didn't know when the next day would be the day when they entered the promised land. God did not give them a timeline or a calendar. God did not say, here's a rock, here's a stick, you can cross off the days as we go. They didn't know how long they'd be there. That is the ultimate limbo. And that is what Sukkot reminds us of. We have these temporary dwellings. Ready? We could pack it up and rebuild it somewhere else at a moment's notice. And that's what it reminds us of. But the laws and the practices of Sukkot teach us a couple of different ways we can approach limbo. So if you are in our religious school, perhaps, maybe you've actually learned some of these things over the past few weeks in religious school. And if you're not in religious school right now, maybe you know these things, or maybe you'll learn some. The first thing we're taught about limbo comes from the blessing we say during Sukkot. When we enter a sukkah, we say a blessing. Say it with me if you know it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leishev ba'sukkah. Which means, blessed is God, ruler of the universe, who has given us commandments and commands us to dwell in the sukkah. God commands us to hang out in the sukkah. The sukkah, which, as I've mentioned before, is not exactly a strong shelter. If it is raining, you will get wet. If it is chilly, you will be chilly. Although all of you who are chilly out there today, I disagree. I think it's perfect sukkah weather. We are told to bless this temporariness. We are told to have gratitude for the temporary. So the first thing we can do during limbo is find reasons for gratitude, even if we have to do a little looking. That one's easy because we've had that blessing for many, 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 many years. Maybe we have to do a little looking, but we'll find something. The second thing Sukkot teaches us is about those walls and that one wall that's open, completely open, because we have a custom of ushpizin, welcoming visitors or guests or just new people into our space. One thing that we do during limbo is we gather in community. One thing we do during limbo when we're not sure what's coming next is we look at a new face and we learn something new from someone else. And we celebrate and we have joy. So that's why we do new member Shabbat during Sukkot. There are many people who will join our community throughout the year, but we celebrate it during Sukkot because this is the time where we welcome new people into our space, into our community, and we all get to make it our own together. So first, we're grateful. We also have community. And the third thing we learn, and this is probably the most important to me, is that you keep living life. When you are in limbo, we do not just sit and wait. We don't just go out into the sukkah once, shake these around a couple times, and be done. We are supposed to eat in the sukkah. We are supposed to sleep in the sukkah. Has anyone ever slept in the sukkah? A couple of people. If you haven't, try even just taking a nap in the sukkah. We are supposed to live our lives in there. It's not a ritual object that we look at from inside. At least it's not supposed to be. We're supposed to use it. So when we're in moments of limbo, we keep living our lives. So this is Zman Simchatenu, our time of rejoicing. Even in this holiday, which is all about temporariness. Maybe you are feeling like we are in a collective moment of temporariness. Maybe you are looking forward with hope. Maybe you are feeling a little bit of anticipatory dread. Any feelings you're feeling are okay. But let's learn from Sukkot. We are grateful for the things we have. We celebrate our abundance, even in a moment of the temporary, even in the limbo. And we always, always gather in community as we continue to live our lives. Shabbat Shalom.